Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
So you have a question, huh? Bhishma had remained silent, huh? When Draupadi insulted happened, then how could we consider him as a Mahajan? Right? So that's the question, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Who asked this question?
Prabhu, I typed that question. I got a question from my contact. So,
Oh, you got a question, huh?
yeah.
So Bhishma Dev is a Mahajan just because he had remained quiet does not disqualify him from being a Mahajan. Like that, Lord Brahma also made some mistakes, so he also disqualified from being a Mahajan. Yes. Like that also, Shiva also, he showed how he was overpowered by Mohini.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that he also failed to be a Mahajan?
So Mahajan means authoritative authorities, right, Prabhu?
Yeah, but they are all working under, as Prabhupada said, they are working sometimes to show examples, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they all act in such a way sometimes to set example. Just like Brahma, he became bewildered and he took all the cows away from Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Coward boys. Does it mean because of that he fell down? Because he, tried to test Krishna?
Okay.
They all are setting examples, you know, so that we all will learn. Lord Vishwadev appointed Krishna. You approved Krishna as the, you know, supreme person during the Rajasuya Yagya.
Yes, Prabhu.
Right? He gave so much instruction about how Krishna is supreme personality of Godhead. How should she surrender to him? Huh?
Mhm.
So how is all that doesn't count about?
Yes, Prabhu.
Just because you remain silent and that's it. I mean, first of all, see his position, no, how big an authority he is, correct?
Right.
So because he, as Prabhupada said, you know, so someone commented, oh, you know, Brahma fell down, Shiva fell down, and all that. Prabhupada said, look, who is saying this nonsense? Correct? They are authorities. They are acting an example sometimes to show us. You understand?
Okay.
To see in that light rather than seeing this, taking fault on them, you know.
Mhm.
You follow?
Yes, Prabhu.
Right? Like that, we also can say, so many of you, you all are calling yourself devotees. I see you doing so many crazy things. Huh? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
So I don't think that's the proper way to judge Bhishmadev.
Mhm.
Hmm? He had a pastime of fighting with Krishna. He wanted to fight with Krishna, no?
Yeah.
That was it. And he is such a rascal, then why Krishna went to him when he was dying?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, Prabhu.
Bhishmadev, you so kindly have appeared in front of me, particularly when I'm going to leave my body.
Mhm.
I mean, look, isn't that the highest thing in one's life?
Yes, Prabhu.
So how that disqualifies him?
Yeah.
So we cannot see like that, no?
Yes, Prabhu. So the question I got is then why did such great people have remained silent when that was happening? I think in Prabhupada mentioned in Bhagavad Gita purport in the first chapter that for that reason they were killed also in the battlefield, Dronacharya and Bhishma.
Yeah. But look at that, if they have intervened, then Krishna won't be able to supply all the saris to Draupadi and do his pastime, you know?
Right.
Yeah, or not?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
So Krishna had to supply the sari, and for that they had everybody had to be quiet one, correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hmm.
Yes, Prabhu. It's a wonderful explanation. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sometimes like Dhritarashtra is also saying, and although I know this is wrong, my affection for my sons and my partiality towards the Pandavas, I know this is wrong, but what can I do? I'm just propelled to do this by some higher force, you know?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
Without all these things sequence happening, there cannot be these pastimes of the Lord, no?
Right.
So we have to see in that light, you know.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, I got it.
He is such an evil person, the Lord would not have gone and supported him at the time, particularly when he was leaving the body. Right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Right now. So we have to understand this in proper context, you know.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
So they all are great personalities. So firstly, to take birth there and do this pastime with Krishna, you consider, not Krishna won't do Leela with all kind of demons, no. Only with devotees he will act, no.
Yes, Prabhu.
All have taken the role to assist him in his pastimes, you know. Right?
Yes, Prabhu.
So we have to see them like that.
Sure, Prabhu.
Like Jay and Vijay also. I'm sorry, what? Jay and Vijay also, and also Nalakuara and Manigriva, you know. They have to stand there as trees, you know.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we should see like that, no?
Sure, Prabhu.
Any other questions? Today is Ekadasi for you all, is it? Oh,
Yes,
yesterday.
Prabhu.
Yes, it's like, and Gita Jayanti as well. So
Oh, Gita Jayanti, huh?
we just finished recitation of 3 hours of Bhagavad Gita. And
During our time with Prabhupada, we never really celebrated this Gita Jayanti, you know. For us, it's everyday Gita Jayanti because we're distributing the message, no? I never heard of this Gita Jayanti celebration also.
Oh, we don't celebrate, Prabhu?
Never did.
Okay.
Not of, you know. Not something that we do for, you know. This is all the Mayavats, you know. They like to get together and do this Gita Jayanti thing, you know, and then speak all nonsense, you know. Well, we're taking advantage on the day to distribute more Gitas, that's another thing. But we are distributing this Bhagavad Gita every day, no?
Right.
So why one day particular? Correct? So that was our Prabhupada's, you know. In fact,
So like,
they
you know,
called him for this Gita Jayanti also. Prabhupada never go because I had to sit with all these Mayavats, you know. Prabhupada never liked it.
So Prabhu, like, no, we are following that for last 11 years. So we used to read whole Bhagavad Gita, only the shlokas and the meaning.
We never did that.
Okay.
We go out and distribute books, no?
That's all. Okay, got it.
That's a real thing. Gita Jayanti means to preach, no?
Yeah.
I think this is mostly the Mayavats I see, no? They like to celebrate the event. Do some Havan, chant all the Bhagavad Gita slokas.
Yes, Prabhu.
That's what they usually do, no? Prabhupada never initiated this in the movement. You can check, you can see all his pastimes in the any Gita Jayanti thing is mentioned. In fact, he went to India, one place they were doing, they called him for coming and Prabhupada said, why go and sit all with Mayavats, no?
Yeah.
So that, so Gita Jayanti, best thing is to go out and preach, no?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Krishna also said, no, anyone who preaches this message is very dear to me. Right? Is this thing recorded? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
In Singapore also, this Mayavats all celebrate this and they invited us. I never go. Why should I go there, no? Prabhupada never went. And someone who is in Krishna consciousness die, how should others observe the next few days? Is there a defined process? What are the rituals? So someone who's Krishna conscious passes away after 3 days. Prabhupada asks us to commemorate a feast, you know, on that departed soul's behalf, you know. That's how we do our you know, Antyasresti, we call it this, you know, last rites. Usually they observe some 10 days for Brahmins and 15 days from Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and 30 days for Sudras, something like that. Yeah?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, in our case, after 3 days, Prabhupada said, have a big feast.
Oh,
Devotee is passing away, this it's a time to rejoice because the person has gone back to Krishna, no?
Correct, Prabhu. Yeah.
So
Okay.
we don't do all these things they do, is this?
Okay. Okay. So there is that after 13 days that event, they put the pindam and all. We don't need do anything like that.
We don't do that thing because he say in this verse, one Devarishi Bhutapta Nirman, I think it's 11:5. Give me a minute. Devarishi Bhutapta Nirnam. So one who has worshipped the Lord, there's no need for him to do anything else, you know. He is no more indebted to do to the sages, to the, you know, Devarishi Bhutapta Nirnam. Give me a minute, huh? So you can see here in this verse, Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Apta, ordinary living entities, friends, relatives, Nirnam, ordinary man, Pitranam, forefathers, Na, not Kinkara, 7. Na, no, I am this, Rini, debtor, see? So king, one who has given up all material duties and taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter of to all is not indebted. See the word.
Oh yeah.
Demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relative, friend, mankind, even one's forefathers who have passed away. See, since all such classes of living entity are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
We don't have to do Pinda, all this thing, because we are chanting Hare Krishna every day, no?
Correct. Correct, Prabhu.
For those people who don't do the chanting, yeah, they have to do all this kind of rituals because they are indebted, no? They take something from the demigod, they take something from the sages, they take something from ordinary living entities, relative, friend, mankind, forefathers, all of them, you know, forefathers leave behind some wealth, correct? Is it not?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Ordinary living entity like the cows and all, they give milk, so many things, no? The trees give food, fruit, so many things, the grains. So we are indebted to everybody. But the moment you chant Hare Krishna and surrender to the Lord, then you are absorbed from all this indebtedness. No, you are no more obligated. Just like if you put food into the stomach, all parts are nourished, right?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
You put water onto the root, then all part of the tree is also nourished, no? Yes?
Correct. Yeah. Good point, Prabhu. Thank you.
31. What is this, huh? Give me a minute. I think it's 331. 431. So the moment you pour water onto the roots, 14. So you can read this.
Yeah, sure. I am separated from the Supreme Lord because of my being in this material body, which is made of 5 elements, and therefore my qualities and senses.
The wrong verse, no? This is
Oh.
not the verse. Why went? How come 331? 431, sorry. Yeah. Okay, you can read this.
Sure, Prabhu. Yeah. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, simply worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of that Supreme Personality.
Correct.
Yes,
The
Prabhu.
moment you put food into the stomach, the whole body is energized. And if you serve the Lord, then everybody, the demigods, everybody is satisfied, no?
Correct. Yeah.
To further elaborate this point, in this verse you can see can read this.
During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, put us in dangerous trouble because of an intrigue by our enemies. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food, thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied.
So that the moment Krishna is satisfied, then everybody becomes satisfied.
Yeah, correct. Understood.
And, you can read the purport also.
Sure. Durvasa Muni, a powerful mystic Brahmana, determined to observe the principles of religion with great vows and under strict austerities. His name is associated with many historical events, and it appears that the great mystic could be both easily satisfied and easily annoyed, like Lord Shiva. When he was satisfied, he could do tremendous good to the servitor, but if he was dissatisfied, he could bring about the greatest calamity. Kumari Kunti at her father's house used to minister all kinds of services to all great Brahmanas, and Durvasa Muni, being satisfied with her good reception, blessed her with the power to call any demigod she desired. It is understood that he was a plenary incarnation of Lord Shiva, and thus he could be easily satisfied, either easily satisfied or annoyed. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and by Lord Shiva's order, he accepted the priesthood of King Svetaketu because the king's performance of sacrifice for 100 years. Sometimes he used to visit the parliamentary assembly of the heavenly kingdom of Indradeva. He could travel in space by his great mystic powers, and it is understood that he traveled a great distance through space, even up to the Vaikuntha planets beyond material space. He traveled all these long distances within 1 year during his quarrel with King Ambarisa, the great devotee and emperor of the world. He had about 10,000 disciples, and wherever he visited and became a guest of the great Kshatriya kings, he used to be accompanied by a number of his followers. Once he visited the house of Duryodhana, the enemy cousin of Maharaja Yudhishthira. Duryodhana was intelligent enough to satisfy the Brahmana by all means, and the great Rishi wanted to give some benediction to Duryodhana. Duryodhana knew his mystic powers, and he knew also that the mystic Brahmana, if dissatisfied, could cause some havoc, and thus he designed to engage the Brahmana to show his wrath upon his enemy cousins, the Pandavas. When the Rishi wanted to award some benediction to Duryodhana, the latter asked him to visit the house of Maharaja Yudhishthira, who was the eldest and chief among all Duryodhana's cousins. But Duryodhana requested the Rishi to go to Yudhishthira after the latter had finished his meals with the queen Draupadi. Duryodhana knew that after Draupadi's dinner, it would be impossible for Maharaja Yudhishthira to receive such a large number of Brahmana guests, and thus the Rishi would be annoyed and would create some trouble for his cousin Maharaja Yudhishthira. This was the plan of Duryodhana. Durvasa Muni agreed to this proposal and he approached the king in exile, according to the plan of Duryodhana. After the king and Draupadi had finished their meals, on his arrival at the door, Maharaja Yudhishthira, he was at once well received, and the king requested him to finish his noontime religious rites in the river, for by that time the foodstuff would be prepared. Durvasa Muni, along with his large number of disciples, went to take a bath in the river, and Maharaja Yudhishthira was in great anxiety about the guests. As long as Draupadi had not taken her meals, food could be served to any number of guests. But the Rishi, by the plan of Duryodhana, reached there after Draupadi had finished her meals. And the devotees are put into difficulty, they have an opportunity to recollect the Lord with rapt attention. So Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in that dangerous position, and the all-pervading Lord could at once know the dangerous position of his devotees. He therefore came there on the scene and asked Draupadi to give whatever food she might have in her stock. On her being so requested by the Lord, Draupadi was sorrowful because the Supreme Lord asked her for some food and she was unable to supply it at that time. She said to the Lord that the mysterious dish which she had received from the sun god could supply any amount of food if she herself had not eaten. But on that day she had already taken her meals and thus they were in danger. By expressing her difficulties, she began to cry before the Lord as only a woman would do in such a position. The Lord, however, asked Draupadi to bring up the cooking pots to see if there was any particle of foodstuff left. And on Draupadi's doing so, the Lord found some particle of vegetable sticking to the pot. The Lord at once picked it up and ate it. After doing so, the Lord asked Draupadi to call for her guests, the company of Durvasa. Bhima was sent to call them from the river. Bhima said, "Why are you delaying, sirs? Come on, the food is ready for you." But the Brahmanas, because of Lord Krishna's accepting a little particle of food, felt sumptuously fed even while they were in the water. They thought since Maharaja Yudhishthira must have prepared many valuable dishes for them, and since they were not hungry and could not eat, the king would feel very sorry, so it was better not to go there. Thus they decided to go away. This incident proved that the Lord is the greatest mystic and therefore he is known as Yogeshwara. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. That is the way of devotional service.
Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
So that's why the Lord, this is why this Madhava Seva and Manava Seva philosophy is bogus. Huh? They say that you serve mankind is serving God. That's rubbish. If you serve the Lord, then all mankind is satisfied. But you just serve the man, then only that particular man is satisfied. Nobody else is satisfied. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu. Correct. Agreed. Yeah.
So this crazy philosophy, serving mankind is serving God. Rubbish. Well,
Agreed. Yeah.
Any other questions? That's why Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever you do, all that you give away and everything, it says do it for me, correct? Yes?
Yat karoshi yadashnashi yajjosi dadasya
Ah.
kaunteya tat kurushvamana.
Please read.
Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, and as an offering to me.
So Krishna never asked you to offer it to everybody, no? Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
He said, do it as an offering to me. So people are misinterpreting all these things, you know. They think that if you service mankind, then he's serving God. Yes, don't deny serving mankind, but at least you should serve them prasadam. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh. Or you give them Krishna consciousness. Yes, that's how you should serve the mankind. But it's not just that you give them all kind of crazy stuff, then you expect that to be service to God. That is rubbish. The best service is to bring that conditioned soul back to Krishna consciousness, so that his material way of life will stop. Yes, that's the greatest welfare.
Yes, Prabhu.
Everyone is suffering, you know, due to their lack of Krishna consciousness. And if they thought they are all servants of Krishna, then all the suffering is finished. You can feed a person today, then tomorrow is also will be hungry. What's the value of that? Correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
So this is all some propaganda by these Mayavadis, you know. They create all this some crazy philosophy because they don't accept the authority of Krishna.
Yes. Yes.
Therefore, Prabhupada called them rascals, you know. Unless one goes to Krishna, he cannot escape from the cycle of birth and death. Yes? Nobody can escape.
The terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any shelter other than myself. For I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of all creation, and also the Supreme Soul of all souls.
Terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any shelter other than myself. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Please read.
It is indicated herein that the cycle of birth and death cannot be stopped unless one is a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. It is said, Harim Vina na Mritim Taranti. One cannot surpass the cycle of birth and death unless one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same concept is confirmed here with one may take to the system of understanding the absolute truth by one's own imperfect sensory speculation, or one may try to realize the self by mystic yoga process. But whatever one may do, unless he comes to the point of surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no process can give him liberation. One may ask if this means that those who are undergoing so much penance and austerity by strictly following the rules and regulations are endeavoring in vain. The answer is given by Srimad Bhagavatam. Ye anye aravindaksha vimukta maninaha. Lord Brahma and other demigods prayed to the Lord when Krishna was in the womb of Devaki. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, there are persons who are puffed up with the thought that they have become liberated or one with the God or have become God. But in spite of thinking in such a puffed up way, their intelligence is not laudable. They are less intelligent. It is stated that their intelligence, whether high or low, is not even purified. In purified intelligence, a living entity cannot think otherwise than to surrender. Bhagavad Gita therefore confirms that purified intelligence arises in the person of a very wise man. Bahanam janmanamante gnanavan mam prapadyate. After many, many births, one who is actually advanced in intelligence surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Without the surrendering process, one cannot achieve liberation. The Bhagavatam says those who are simply puffed up, thinking themselves liberated by some non-devotional process are not polished or clear in intelligence, for they have not yet surrendered unto you. In spite of executing all kinds of austerities and penances, or even arriving at the brink of spiritual realization, in Brahman realization, they think that they are in the effulgence of Brahman. But actually, because they have no transcendental activities, they fall down to material activities. One should not be satisfied simply with knowing that one is Brahman. He must engage himself in the service of the Supreme. That is bhakti. The engagement of Brahman should be the service of Brahman. It is said that unless one becomes a Brahman, one cannot serve Brahman. The Supreme Brahman is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the living entity is also Brahman. Without realization that he is Brahman, spirit soul, an eternal servitor of the Lord, if one simply thinks that he is Brahman, his realization is only theoretical. He has to realize and at the same time engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Then he can exist in the Brahman status, otherwise he falls down. The Bhagavatam says that because non-devotees neglect the transcendental loving service of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, their intelligence is not sufficient, and therefore these persons fall down. The living entity must have some activity. If he does not engage in the activity of transcendental service, he must fall down to material activity. As soon as one falls down to material activity, there is no rescue from the cycle of birth and death. It is stated here by Lord Kapila, without my mercy, Nanyatra Mad Bhagavata. The Lord is stated here to be Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, indicating that he is full of all opulences and is therefore perfectly competent to deliver one from the cycle of birth and death. He is also called Pradhana because he is the Supreme. He is equal to everyone, but to one who surrenders to him, he is especially favorable. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord is equal to everyone. No one is his enemy and no one is his friend. But to one who surrenders unto him, he is especially inclined. By the grace of the Lord, simply by surrendering unto him, one can get out of this cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, one may go on in many lives and may many times attempt other processes for liberation.
So you can see how it's so clear. Only by the grace of the Lord one can escape the cycle of birth and death.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hmm?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hmm. So anyone tries to think that he can live separately from the Lord's direction is actually hallucinating. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Only a fool, will not want to take shelter of the Lord.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hmm?
Yes, Prabhu. I think it's because of they do read the scriptures, Prabhu.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because they are not surrendering to a pure devotee. That's the problem. Hmm?
Prabhu.
You don't surrender to a pure devotee, you cannot escape. It's not possible to escape the cycle of birth and death without taking shelter of pure devotee of Krishna. That's how Krishna has made this, you know. The moment you desire, Krishna sends you a pure devotee so that you can take shelter and serve. In this way, you can get purified, that you will develop attraction for Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. Hmm?
Yes, Prabhu.
Besides, if you are
Prabhu,
the first, tell me.
I was going to ask, you know, that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Dasa Ranu Dasa, you know, Dasanu Dasa Dasa. So
Hmm.
some misusing that word and in the wrong direction, Prabhu.
How they are doing that?
They are using that statement according to their needs. I see that. Some people are,
Okay. How you can elaborate more?
uh, it says that a servant of you have to serve servant of servant of servant.
Hmm.
Is correct, but
Hmm.
by using that, okay, you have to serve me, serve this way, that way.
So how you say to serve you? Are you a servant? Who qualify you as a servant? Hmm?
I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor Yamaya Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance.
Hmm? So does it say that I should serve you? First of all, you are not a servant or something. How you qualify yourself as a servant? Because you say so, is it? Huh? Hmm? Right?
Yes, Prabhu.
A devotee will never say he's a devotee. Understand?
Yes, Prabhu.
Huh? The moment he says he's a devotee, then there's no humility, no?
Atman.
Correct?
Correct, Prabhu.
Hmm. And if he never say like that, then he will say, I'm your servant. That's proper etiquette, no?
I see, I see.
He will never say that I use this verse and say, now you have to serve me. Huh? Who will say things like that? Huh?
Correct, Prabhu.
The guy must be nutcase, no?
Yes, excellent point, Prabhu.
Hmm. Vaishnavas, they never say, you serve me. Vaishnavas always say, I can be your servant. You
Wow.
follow? In this regard, you can see here the behavior of the Vaishnava. You can see, I show you this verse. In the CC, Ante Lila, I think
That
it's,
is excellent point, Prabhu, what he said.
hmm, I think it is here, yeah. All right, we can read this pastime, we can see how this point has been elaborated here. So you can read them.
Sure, Prabhu.
All right, you can read this.
Kali Dasa was an uncle of Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. Throughout his entire life, even in his old age, he tried to eat the remnants of food left by Vaishnavas. Kalidasa ate the remnants of food of as many Vaishnavas as there were in Bengal. He would go to all the Vaishnavas born in Brahmana families, be they neophyte or advanced devotees, and present them with gifts of first-class eatables. He would beg remnants of food from such Vaishnavas, and if he did not receive any, he would hide. After the Vaishnavas finished eating, they would throw away their leaf dishes, and Kalidasa would come out of hiding, take the leaves and lick up the remnants. He would also take gifts to the homes of Vaishnavas born in Shudra families. Then he would hide and in this manner eat the remnants of food they threw away.
Padyavali Mataji, can you read?
Hare Krishna. There was a great Vaishnava named Jhadu Thakura who belonged to the Bhuni Mali caste. Kalidas went to his home taking mangoes with him. Purport: Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks, both Kalidasa and Jhadu Thakura are worshipped at a place called Shripat Bati in the village known as Bhedo Bhadura. This village is situated about 3 miles south of the village of Krishnapura, the birthplace of Raghunath Das Goswami, which is about 1 mile west of the Bandal junction of Bardwan line. A post office there is named Devanandpura. Jharu Thakura used to worship the deity of Shri Madan Gopala. The deity is still worshipped by one Ram Prasada Dasa who belonged to Ramayat community. It is said that the deity worshipped by Kalidasa had been worshipped until recently in the village of Shankha on the bank of Saraswati river, but the deity was taken away by a gentleman named Matilal Chattopadhyay from the village Triveni. The deity is now being worshipped at his place. Kalidasa presented the mangoes to Jhadu Thakura and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he also offered respectful obeisances to the Thakura's wife. When Kalidasa went to Jhadu Thakura, he saw that saintly person sitting with his wife. As soon as Jhadu Thakura saw Kalidasa, he likewise offered his respectful obeisances on to him. After a discussion with Kalidasa that lasted for some time, Jharu Thakura spoke the following sweet words. I belong to a low caste and you are very respectable guest. How shall I serve you? If you will permit me, I shall send some food to a Brahmana's house and there you may take prasadam. If you do so, I shall then leave very comfortably.
So you can see here the mood. He never say, I'm a Vaishnava, you please serve me.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
So you see how he humbly presented himself.
Kalidasa replied, My dear sir, please bestow your mercy upon me. I have come to see you, although I am very fallen and sinful.
You see how he is speaking now? Let me serve you. You understand? They never say, please serve me, correct? Did he say that?
No.
So this is the etiquette of behavior. Yeah? That's why Prabhupada say we call each other Prabhush. It doesn't mean that we call myself Prabhu means I'm master of you, no? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. That means we are your servant. That's the whole idea. Offer respect to everybody and not expect anything in return. Kanarapi Sunichena. Huh? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu. Murari Chaitanya Prabhu, can you read?
Simply by seeing you, I have become purified. I am very much obligated to you, for my life is now successful.
See how they talk? Now because you saw me, you now became purified. Did they say like that?
No.
You're right. Prabhu.
That is nonsense,
Yeah. My dear sir, I have one desire. Please be merciful to me by kindly placing your feet upon my head so that the dust on your feet may touch it.
You see how he's presenting himself?
Yeah.
Hmm? Yeah, these Vaishnavas, how we act, how we behave, it's all there.
Jadu Thakura replied, It does not befit you to ask this of me. I belong to a very low caste family, whereas you are a respectable rich gentleman.
See how?
Hmm.
Huh?
Kalidasa then recited some verses which Jadu Thakura was very happy to hear. Even though one is very learned scholar in Sanskrit literature, if he is not engaged in pure devotional service, he is not accepted as my devotee. But if someone born in a family of dog eaters in a pure devotee with no motives for enjoyment through fruitive activity or mental speculation, he is very dear to me. All respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted. For such a devotees are indeed as worshipable as I am. A person may be born in a Brahmana family and have all 12 Brahminical qualities. But if in spite of being qualified, he is not devoted to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who has a navel shaped like a lotus, he is not as good as Chandala, who has dedicated his mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the service of the Lord. Simply to take birth in a Brahmana family or to have a Brahminical qualities is not sufficient. One must become a pure devotee of the Lord. If a Swaparcha or Chandala is a devotee, he delivers not only himself but his whole family, whereas a Brahmana who is not a devotee but simply has a Brahminical qualification cannot even purify himself, what to speak of his family. My dear Lord, anyone who always keeps your holy name on his tongue is greater than initiated Brahmana. Although he may be born in a family of dog eaters, and therefore by material calculations be the lowest of men, he is glorious nevertheless. That is the wonderful power of chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who chants the holy name is understood to have performed all kinds of austerities. He has studied all the Vedas. He has performed all the great sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. And he has already taken his bath in the all holy places of pilgrimage. It is he who is factually the Aryan.
So the guy who's puffed up, he will say this, you see, I did all this already. So therefore you have to worship me.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
See how Jadu replied.
Yeah. Hearing these quotations from the revealed scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Jadu Thakura replied, yes, this is true, for it is the version of Shastra. It is true. However, for one who is genuinely advanced in devotion to Krishna, such a position may befit others, but I do not possess such a spiritual power. I belong to a lower class and have not even a pinch of devotion to Krishna.
See how he replied,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Kalidas is saying all the verses referring to him. But he is saying, look, I am low class. I don't have any of this quality.
Yeah.
Understand? This
Yeah.
is how the etiquette, no?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Not that you find one verse and you come and use the see, you have to use this. 7 of the 7 of this, now you have to become my servant. Huh?
Yeah.
Who speaks like that? Who? Only a fool, you know? Yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes or not?
Yeah.
Read the purport.
In his statement, Jadu Thakura presents himself as being born in a low-class family and not having the qualifications of a bona fide devotee of Lord Krishna. He accepts the statements declaring a low-born person highly exalted if he is a Vaishnava. However, he feels that these descriptions from Srimad Bhagavatam appropriately describe others, but not himself. Jaddu Thakura's attitude is quite befitting a real Vaishnava, for a Vaishnava never considers himself exalted, even if he factually is. He is always meek and humble, and never thinks that he is an advanced devotee. He assigns himself to a lower position, but that doesn't mean he assigned himself to a lower position, but that doesn't mean he is indeed low. Sanatan Goswami once said that he belonged to the low class family, for although he was born in Brahmana family, he had an associate with the Malechas and Yavanas in his service as a government minister. Similarly, Jaddu Thakura presented himself as someone who belonged to low caste, but he has actually elevated above many persons born in Brahmana families. Not only is there evidence for this in Srimad Bhagavatam, as quoted by Kalidasa in verses 26 and 27, but there is also considerable evidence for this conclusion in other Shastras. For example, in the Mahabharata, it is said, if someone born a Sudra possesses the characteristic of Brahmana, and someone born a Brahmana does not, that Sudra should not be known as that Sudra should not be known as Sudra, and that Brahmana should not be known as Brahmana. Similarly, in the Varna Parva, it is said, if a person born in a Sudra family has developed the qualities of a Brahmana, such as Satya, truthfulness, Sama, peacefulness, Dhamma, self-control, and Arjva, simplicity, he attains the exalted position of Brahmana. And in the Anusharana Parva, Sthito Brahmana, if one is factually situated in the occupation of Brahmana, he must be considered a Brahmana even if born in a Kshatriya or Vaishya family. O Devi, even if one is born a Sudra, if he is actually engaged in the occupation of pure behavior of Brahmana, he becomes a Brahmana. Moreover, a Vaishya can become a Kshatriya. Therefore, neither the source of one's birth, nor his reformation, nor his education is the criterion of Brahmana. The Vrata or occupation is the real standard by which one is known as Brahmana. We have seen that a person who is not the son of doctor and has not attend a medical college is sometimes able to practice medicine by practical knowledge of how to perform a surgical operation, how to mix medicine, and how to give certain medicines for certain disease. A person can receive a certificate and be registered as a medical practitioner in the practical field. He can do a medical man's work and be known as doctor. All through qualified medical men may consider him a quack. The government will recognize his work. Especially in India, there are many such doctors who perform their medical services perfectly. They are accepted even by the government. Similarly, if one is engaged in Brahminical service or occupational duties, he must be considered a Brahmana despite the family in which he is born. That is the verdict of all the Shastra.
Nikhil Prabhu, you want to read?
Sure, Mata. This is a statement by Narada Muni to Maharaja Yudhishthira, wherein Narada says that the symptoms of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya are all described in the Shastra. Therefore, if one is
Prabhu, little more up.
little above. Therefore, if one is found exhibiting the symptoms and qualities of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, and serving in the Brahminical, Kshatriya, or Vaishya occupation, even if he is not born in Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, he should be considered such according to his qualifications and occupation. Similarly, in the Padma Purana, it is said, a devotee should never be considered a Shudra. All the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be recognized as Bhagavatas. If one is not devotee of Lord Krishna, however, even if born in Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya family, he should be considered a Shudra. In the Padma Purana, it is also said, if a person born in Brahmana family is an Avaishnava, a non-devotee, one who should not see his face, exactly as one should not look upon the face of Chandala or dog eater. However, a Vaishnava found in Varnas other than Brahmana can purify all the three worlds. The Padma Purana further says, one who considers a devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead who was born in the family of Shudras, Nishadas, or Chandalas to belong to that particular caste certainly goes to hell. A Brahmana must be a Vaishnava and a learned scholar. Therefore, in India, it is customary to address a Brahmana or as Pandita. Without knowledge of Brahman, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana, whereas a Brahmana may become a Vaishnava. In the Garuda Purana, it is said, even if one is born a Mlecha, if he becomes a devotee, he is to be considered the best of Brahmanas and a learned Pandita. Similarly, the Tattva Sagra says, as bell metal is turned to gold when mixed with mercury in an alchemical process, so one who is properly trained and initiated by a bona fide spiritual master becomes a Brahmana immediately. All this evidence found in the revealed scriptures proves that according to the Vedic version, a Vaishnava is never to be considered a Brahmana or non-Brahmana. A Vaishnava should not be thought to belong to a lower caste, even if born in a Mlecha or Yavana family, because he has become a devotee of Lord Krishna. He has become purified and has attained the stage of Brahmana.
So you can see here how the qualification of a devotee is, you know.
Kalidasa again offered his obeisances to Jadu Thakura and asked his permission to go. The saint Jadu Thakura followed him as he left.
So then you see, he went away and then he hid himself, and when Jadu finished eating the mangoes, he kind of came out, and when he threw away the leaves, the patras, he came and took the leaves and started licking on it, eating the ramanas. So the point I'm trying to make is that a Vaishnava will never say he's a Vaishnava. Understand? You follow? And if a person talks like that and he never follow the Shastra, then he is not considered a Vaishnava. You can read this verse here.
Shruti Smriti Mamai Vajne Yaste Ulangya.
Carry on reading.
You want me to go only English, Prabhu?
Yeah, you read the
Okay.
English.
Sure. The Smriti and the Shruti and Smriti literatures are to be understood as my injunctions, and one who violates such codes is to be understood as violating my will and thus opposing me. Although such a person may claim to be my devotee, he is not actually a Vaishnava.
So that. So that.
So, Prabhu, what is Shruti and Smriti?
Shruti means that, like the Vedas, the Upanishads, they are Shrutis, earth. Smriti means you remember. So when you hear and then you remember, there are Smritis like the Puranas, You understand?
Okay,
The
got it.
Puranas, the Itihasas, that is the Mahabharata and Ramayana. You understand? They are called Smritis. Srimad Bhagavatam is Smriti also.
Okay. Got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
So these are the definition. So if someone is speaking like this, then his association should be avoided, no? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu. When the Mother Veda Shruti is questioned as to whom to worship, she says that you are the only Lord and worshipable object. Similarly, the corollaries of the Shruti Shastras, the Smriti Shastras, give the same instructions just like sisters. The Puranas, which are like brothers, follow in the footsteps of their mother. O enemy of the demon Mura, the conclusion is that you are the only shelter. Now I have understood this in truth.
Understand?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
So therefore, coming back to the point, if a person is a Vaishnava but is not behaving properly, then his association should be avoided. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
So
Yes.
we should be very careful and who we associate with, you know. You understand?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Can you read the word Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks? Can you read that?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura remarks in this connection that whatever is offered to the spiritual master should be offered with love and affection, not for material adoration. Similarly, it is recommended that one associate with devotees, but there must be some discrimination. Actually, a sadhu, a saintly person, must be saintly in his behavior. Sadhava sadacharaha. Unless one adheres to the standard behavior, one's position as a sadhu, a saintly person, is not complete. Therefore, a Vaishnava, a sadhu, must completely adhere to the standard of behavior. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura says that a Vaishnava, a person initiated into the Vaishnava cult, should be offered the respect befitting a Vaishnava, which means that he should be offered service and prayers. However, one should not associate with him if he is not a fit person with whom to associate.
Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Hmm.
Yes, Prabhu.
It's not whimsical. If a person is behaving in a not in the standard Vaishnava etiquette way, then his association should be avoided. Yes,
Yes, true.
especially if we quote the 1380 now, a dasanu das das, and he just asks you to surrender to him. I think such a person, one you should keep miles away. No?
So if such people are senior and then if you find that they're not fit and if you don't associate with them, will it won't be a Vaishnava Aparadha, right?
He says, he says here, that a person be offered the respect befitting a Vaishnava, which means that he should be offered service and prayer. However, we should not associate with not a fit person with whom to associate, correct? He
Yes.
must also be practicing the standard etiquette, no?
Hmm.
Correct?
Yes,
true.
Prabhu.
If he kind of misuses his position, then how he can be, why we should associate with him? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu. I agree that we should not associate, but I just wanted to clarify my doubt whether that will be a Vaishnava Aparadha if we don't associate, or is it?
Shastra is saying don't associate, so how can it be Vaishnava Aparadha?
Okay, got it, Prabhu.
Hmm. We follow the Shastra guideline, no?
Hmm.
Correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
If his behavior is not standard and not up to the mark, then why we should associate with him?
Hmm.
Yeah? Suppose now, okay, you go and associate with the ISKCON gurus. Will you associate?
No, Prabhu.
Why not? They
We know
claim
they're
to be
not
Vaishnava.
following rules of Prabhupada, so they're not a
Yes.
fit person.
So that's how they judge anything, no? Correct?
Hmm.
If he has fallen away, then what's the use of his association? If you associate with a fallen person, what you become? You become spiritually upright, is it?
No, Prabhu.
That's intelligence, yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
You should take always association with an advanced devotee. And an advanced devotee never thinks himself as an advanced person.
Hmm.
I've just given you this example of these two exalted Vaishnavas. See how they talk.
Hmm. Yes, Prabhu.
It's a standard behavior, no?
True, but unfortunately, in the so-called some of the organizations, they all don't have this kind of etiquette at all on how to talk. They all take respect for their own self, and they're following the corporate world. It is so unfortunate.
So you should avoid such association.
Yes, definitely.
Correct?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Everybody should practice humility, no?
Yes, true.
Even if you advance, you never think that you advance. That is the standard. A devotee who's advanced always behave like a neophyte.
Hmm.
Otherwise, Krishna will leave him. Understand? Krishna will never go to such person. Vaishnava is very cautious about that, to always keep himself as a servant of Krishna.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Just now we read that verse, no? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, no?
Mhm.
I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not anything. What am I? I'm a servant of the gopis who is serving the Lord.
Mhm.
Hmm?
Mhm.
So we should always try to put ourselves down. We never put ourselves up, no?
Mhm.
Whereas in the material world, everybody is trying to put themselves up, no?
Yes, true.
So our way of thinking is to always become the servant of the servant, no?
Yes, true.
Whereas the material world, everybody want to become the master of the
Master.
master, no?
Yes, true.
So because that is driven by the mode of passion and ignorance.
Mhm.
Here we are in transcendental goodness, no? Nobody, even Parikshit Maharaj, he say, I am not a Kshatriya, I am a friend of the Kshatriya.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Look at Sanatan Goswami, how he speaks.
Felt great.
I come from low class family. My association were low class. I have no good qualities. No? Although he was the chief minister of the country.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Understand?
Yes,
So
true.
that is what is standard Vaishnava etiquette. Not that he speak very humbly in front of you when you leave his say all the bad things about you. Huh?
Mhm.
Hmm.
That kind of Vaishnava we should avoid, boy.
Yes, true.
Yes?
Yes,
Yes,
true.
Prabhu.
Duplicious. So we should be very careful, no?
Yes, true.
Hmm?
Prabhu, someone asked me this question. So, uh, our movement of Prabhupada's movement is very authentic and it is recognized from Lord Shri Krishna himself, where this parampara system is starting from Krishna, and we are trying to develop temples and like that. So the question is like, why is Krishna not, I mean, like, why are we not getting the funds to start the temple, whereas other movements like a lot of other people, they have very rich temples and they get so much money, and like it is all, they're able to spread this temples so many in so many places, different organizations for that matter. So
So
why
why you are accepting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He also never built any temples.
wow,
Hmm?
that's wonderful answer.
So because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bogus.
No.
There's no history, anything that he stayed back and constructed a temple. That means he's bogus.
No.
And you may have started 1, 2, 3 temples, but look at the Christians and the Muslims. They have bigger mosques everywhere. So we should join them.
Yeah, that's a good example.
That's a very good one too. Yeah.
Huh? This bricks and stones are not the idea, It is the humility, the knowledge, Prabhupada said, enlightened devotee. He may be sitting with his guru, but he is not enlightened, he's bogus. Prabhupada said many times, my god brothers got all the buildings, the printing press, everything,
Hmm.
But the power to preach was given to me.
Hmm.
Right?
Yes, true.
Which is better? Which is better?
Preaching.
Huh? You have big building like India. I saw big temples. Only the dogs are sleeping inside. What is a temple like that? Yeah.
Yes, true.
Real idea is to preach, and that's what Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't say that anyone who builds big temple is going to be my best friend, or one who preaches.
One who preaches.
So you should explain. show
Sure.
all these verses on?
Sure, Prabhu, definitely.
Hmm.
That's wonderful examples.
Can you read this verse? Friendship should be cemented
Baldev Prabhu.
between persons. Someone
Baldev
read
Prabhu,
this?
can you read?
Sure, Prabhu, I'll read. Friendship should be cemented between persons with mutual interests and understanding. Such persons are said to be Svajati, of the same caste. The devotee should avoid a person whose character is not fixed in the standard understanding, even though he may be a Vaishnava or a devotee of Krishna. If his character is not correctly representative, then he should be avoided. One should steadily control the senses and the mind and strictly follow the rules and regulations, and he should make friendship with persons of the same standard.
Yes,
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 Prabhu.
Prabhu.
clear.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we should be very cautious, Everything we do must be guided by Guru, Sadhu and Shastra.
Shastra.
We cannot do some whimsical, if you pretend to be a first class devotee and try to think you are first class, and when you are not, then you will fall down. Understand? You must know your position and you must act accordingly. You cannot try to pretend to be a first class. I see everybody equal. I have no enemies. I'm so nice and this and that. All nonsense, First learn how to wake up in the morning, do your Mangala Aarti. Then I will know you're first class or last class. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
This is nonsense. You understand? You cannot artificially do all these things, As they come to you, I should make spiritual advancement, Yes? So you can see here, again, this point is elaborated here. So in this verse, see here,
However, one should not imitate the behavior of an advanced devotee or Mahabhagavata without being self-realized, for by such imitation, one will eventually become degraded.
yes? Understand?
Very true, Prabhu.
So we should be very careful, You cannot just take this movement whimsically, thinking that, we all are very advanced and we are, all nonsense. You should always take a humble role. I'm the most important person.
Prabhu,
Yeah.
one thing that I noticed was until I was with other camps, I never felt these changes. Like as soon as we came to ISKM, every day now we feel every moment I'm a big rascal and a fool. And it is so nice to be placed in such a thinking, because that is the actual position that I think I would have just gone rotten in this world, even though we had Prabhupada books. Only by Prabhupada's mercy, he showed us you, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
I'm the biggest rascal. We showed you a very big rascal. That's the problem. Right?
No, Prabhu. Definitely
That's
Prabhupada's
the
mercy
mood.
that he guided us you.
The whole idea is to, because if you want to preach to others, you must set example, no?
Yes,
Correct?
Prabhu, definitely.
If you don't set example, then how people will learn? Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we have to set example that we are the most fallen. So it's not just saying, it's also action. And that means that you must make advancement to feel like that. Yeah. However, one should not imitate the behavior of an advanced devotee of Mahabharata without being self-realized.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Yes, Prabhu.
So the training, if you are going to train someone up, you also must act like that. Otherwise, how they will want to respect you and follow you?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot force people to respect you, no? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
So we all should be exemplary. So that's why we always quote the scriptures,
Mm-hmm.
because you also may have read all these things many times, but you see, when I point out to you how much realization you get,
Mm-hmm.
yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Realization is very important for character reformation.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you realize, then how you will act,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh no, I shouldn't do this, I know this is not good. No, I shouldn't. That's how we should become humble, no?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
So it's very important, no? That we learn these things properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yes, Prabhu.
see again. This verse, Rupa Goswami advised the devotee be intelligent enough to distinguish between the Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama. The devotee should also know his position and not try to imitate a devotee who is in a higher platform. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given some practical hint to the effect that Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. See that? Prabhupada, you see how he never say, I am the one who can convert many people, no? Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which he is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
See how Prabhupada writes. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given some practical hint to the effect that Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by the ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. Who is that?
Prabhupada. Prabhupada.
Yeah. He never write that, look, I am the one who I can convert everybody, so I am pure devotee first class. He say like that?
No.
Come on. How humility, no? You write also, see how he writes. You understand? So a devotee is always humble, So try to understand all these points. Huh?
Yes.
Any more
Yes.
questions? What else? Some people interpret.
Same
No, it's the
question.
same
Just
question, just
for
to put it
reference.
in the
We put in the chat, huh?
Yes.
Who asked this question?
Madhu Prabhu.
Oh, Madhu. Now you understand, Madhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Wonderful answers, wonderful verses, Prabhu. It's very clear.
You try to understand. Don't become cheated, no. That's the point. Huh?
Yes, Prabhu.
So if you blindly follow someone, that becomes a cult, You understand? No Shastra, no Sadhu, no Guru. Blind following.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu.
So as I think I don't want to keep you very late, no? No?
Prabhuji, I have one more question.
Yes.
So, I mean, in last 11 years, we have been told that Prabhupada is our Diksha Guru. Yes, I'm convinced very much convinced on that. And he's also our Siksha Guru. So, in the other camp, they say that, the other, no one else can be Shiksha Guru. That point is a little bit confusing.
Prabhupada said Diksha Guru is one who, teaches you and finally give you initiation.
Right.
Huh? And he connects you to the parampara. There can only be one Diksha Guru. We cannot have many Diksha Gurus.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
And a Shiksha Guru is one who repeats also the same message to you and also may give you instruction. Like for example, Prabhupada is the Diksha Guru, is traveling all over the world. He may not be with everybody, correct?
Right.
So the training is left to his Shiksha disciples.
Okay.
You understand? Like now I give you the example more clearly. Prabhupada is not physically here, but he is our
Right.
Diksha Guru. But like us, particularly me, I've taken the role to help you with some Shiksha instruction. That your faith in Prabhupada is strengthened.
Right. Yes, Prabhu.
Similarly, I may be one, but there can be many Shiksha Gurus. Understand?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. So it's clear to me.
Particularly, there's no difference between the Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru because they give the same instruction. Understand?
So if there's no difference, that means we should be worshipping Shiksha Guru also?
You can see in this Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishnadas Kaviraj is always glorifying only Shiksha Guru. He never even glorifies Diksha Guru. Yeah?
Oh.
Yeah, you can see at the end of every chapter. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
There's no difference between this because the message is the same, no? That's why it says here one should know the instructing spiritual master with the personality of Godhead Krishna. Krishna manifests himself super soul as the devotee of the Lord. So there's no difference actually. So the verse here. I think it is in. Give me a minute. I think it's 44. One second, no? In this verse, it says there's no difference between the Shiksha and Diksha. Let me get you the verse. Yeah, first you see this verse better, huh? You can read the purport so you understand something. All right. Okay. You can read this.
Yes, Prabhu. I first offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters. Okay, Srila Jiva Goswami in this thesis, Bhakti Sandarbha 202, has stated that the uncontaminated devotion service is the objective of pure devotion of pure Vaishnavas, and that one has to execute such service in the association of other devotees. By associating with the devotees of Lord Krishna, one develops a sense of Krishna consciousness and thus becomes inclined towards the loving service of the Lord. This is the process of approaching the Supreme Lord by gradual appreciation in devotion service. If one desires unalloyed devotion service, one must associate with devotees of Krishna, for by such association only can a conditioned soul achieve a taste for transcendental love, and thus revive his eternal relationship with Godhead in a specific manifestation and in terms of specific transcendental mellow rasa that one has eternally inherent in him. If one develops love for Krishna by Krishna conscious activities, one can know the supreme absolute truth. But he who tries to understand God simply by logical arguments will not succeed, nor will he get a taste for unalloyed devotion. The secret is that one must submissively listen to those who know perfectly the situation of Godhead, and one must begin the mode of service regulated by the preceptor. A devotee already attracted by the name, form, qualities, etc. of the Supreme Lord may be directed to his specific manner of devotion service. He need not waste time in approaching the Lord through logic. The expert spiritual master knows well how to engage his disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, but thus he engages a devotee in a specific devotion service according to his special tendency. A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master, because in the scriptures, accepting of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructing spiritual masters one may accept. Generally, spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual masters later on. One should always remember that a person who is reluctant to accept a spiritual master and be initiated is sure to be baffled in his endeavor to go back to Godhead. One who is not properly initiated may present himself as a great devotee, but in fact, he is sure to encounter many stumbling blocks on his path of progress towards spiritual realization, with the result that he must continue his term of material existence without relief. Such a helpless person is compared to a ship without a rudder, for such a ship can never reach its destination. It is imperative, therefore, that one accept a spiritual master if he at all desires to gain the favor of the Lord. The service of the spiritual master is essential. If there is no chance to serve the spiritual master directly, a devotee should serve him by remembering his instructions. There is no difference between the spiritual master's instructions and the spiritual master himself. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of the disciple. If one thinks that he is above consulting anyone else, including a spiritual master, he is at once an offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. Such an offender can never go back to Godhead. It is imperative that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master in terms of the Shastric injunctions. Jiva Goswami advises that one not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary social ecclesiastical conventions. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding.
Srila
Read.
Krishnadasa Kaviraja Goswami states that the instructing spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna himself teaches us as the instructing spiritual master from within and without. From within, he teaches as Paramatma, our constant companion, and from without, he teaches from the Bhagavad Gita as the instructing spiritual master. There are two kinds of instructing spiritual master. One is a liberated person fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. Thus, the instructions in the science of Thus, the instructions in the science of devotion are differentiated in terms of the objective and subjective ways of understanding. The Acharya, in the true sense of the term, who is authorized to deliver Krishna, enriches the disciple with full spiritual knowledge and thus awakens him to the activities of devotional service. When by learning from the self-realized spiritual master, one actually engages himself in the service of Lord Vishnu, functional devotional service begins. The procedures of this devotional service are known as abhideya, or actions one is duty bound to perform. Our only shelter is the Supreme Lord, and one who teaches how to approach Krishna is the functioning form of the personality of Godhead. There is no difference between the shelter giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual masters. If one foolishly discriminates between them, he commits an offense in the discharge of devotional service. Srila Sanatana Goswami is the ideal spiritual master, for he delivers one the shelter of the lotus feet of Madana Mohana. Even though one may be unable to travel on the field of Vrindavana due to forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can get an adequate opportunity to stay in Vrindavana and derive all spiritual benefits by the mercy of Sanatana Goswami. Sri Govindaji acts exactly like the Siksha Guru, instructing spiritual master by teaching Arjuna the Bhagavad Gita. He is the original preceptor, for he gives us instructions and an opportunity to serve him. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Srila Madana Mohana Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representative of Srila Govinda Deva Vigraha. Both of these deities are worshipped at Vrindavana. Srila Gopinatha is the ultimate attraction and spiritual realization.
So you understand now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Huh? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
So Prabhu, when you said there's no difference, so so when we meet our Shiksha Guru, we also worship him? Or how?
That's up to you. That's up to you.
I mean, the Arati with all the 7 paraphernalia?
Well, you can worship someone, but to offering all due respect mentally, and you also can bow down to him like that, no?
Mhm.
Correct? Not that
Yes,
every time you sit him down on Vyasasana and do a big puja.
Okay.
Huh? You understand?
Yes, Prabhu.
Like you can see here, how Krishna Das is, worshipping here. You can see every page he's always saying the same prayer. Correct? Rupa Raghunatha Yadaya Chaitanya Chandra Kavi Krishna Das. Every chapter is saying this, no? But Rupa and Raghunath are not his Diksha Guru, they all are Shiksha Gurus.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
So that is something he has understood. Because sometimes this whole thing has come about because after Prabhupada left, all these gurus became crazy, no? My God, brothers, no? So then we started our retreat thing, and in the retreat thing, everyone is very much cautious about, worshipping anyone, no?
Right.
The moment you worship someone, then they say, oh, you see, he wants to be a guru. You follow?
Yes, Prabhu.
And he could not become a guru in the normal way, so he become a guru by this back door, That's why the retreat movement is like that. I often get accused like that, Although I was offered the post while I was in ISKCON, my GBC told me, Sundar Gopal, you seem to be very qualified. Why don't you become a guru also? you know, because I was not so stupid, no? Yeah?
Right. Yes,
Why
Prabhu.
should I take up that role and, screw my spiritual life,
Mhm.
Understand? So, but I get people who bow down to me and all that. I'll be very frank. They want to respect me. Firstly, I'm a senior devotee, Secondly, they seem to learn something from me. I don't see anything wrong in that.
So, Prabhu,
So
when you
for
say that,
Devari, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, like when you say that there's no difference between Diksha and Shiksha Guru, so that means even a Shiksha Guru can give initiations, like.
No,
Or-
the one who gives initiation is a Diksha Guru.
Okay, so Shiksha Guru.
He only gives instruction. But if he acts like now, if he acts like a representative of Prabhupada, then there's nothing wrong with that. You understand? The Diksha Guru in our society is prominently Srila Prabhupada. You cannot replace that position as he's ordered it, no? So anyone who try to do that without his authority, then they usually fall down. You understand? Jiva Goswami, he never initiated anybody. Although he was the leader of all the Vaishnavas, in fact, he's one of the brilliant, instructing spiritual masters. Yes, you look at all the books he wrote, 400,000 verses, no?
Yes, Prabhu.
So, but he never, and Gaurkishore Das Babaji refused to take Bhakti Siddhanta.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, it's not that, you must immediately jump on the bandwagon and take so many millions of disciples. Huh? That's not the relevant. The relevancy is to help everyone understand Krishna. Krishna, you read the purport, no? The relevancy is to make everybody devotees of Krishna. Understand?
Right.
Not to make millions of disciples. You can see Prabhupada even said, you all are not my disciples, you all are my gurus sent by my Guru Maharaj to help me in my mission. See how is he thinking? Understand? That's humility, no?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes? When you don't have this kind of a realization and understanding as a first class devotee, then you will see prematurely take it up, then you will fall down. That's what we see everywhere. People are trying to take up the authority and boss people around. Then what happens? Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
So that has to be some natural development, no? You have no understanding of this and you want to take up the role, yeah, you can get some syncopat, we say, no? Some people who want to simply accept you as a blind following, no? That's why Prabhupada said you must surrender with intelligence, not surrender your intelligence, no? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhupada said, I am the sole Diksha Guru and everybody in the movement is Shiksha Guru. I am the initiating spiritual master and everyone else is the instructing spiritual master. So that is required, You can have one Diksha Guru, but you can have unlimited Shiksha Gurus. Yes.
So Prabhu, who qualifies to be a Shiksha Guru? Like, I know definitely you are our Shiksha Guru now.
Everyone, everyone who can help you, yes.
Okay.
No. Understand? But a devotee is always bowing down to everybody, no? Yes. And somebody will also worship you because you may give this knowledge to somebody else, correct?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
So, no. Just like you hear from me, I heard from Prabhupada, correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
So now you are hearing the same thing, and you may repeat to somebody else, correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
And then that someone will become very much appreciating. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hmm. So there's no end to this, but our original initiating spirit master and also instructing spirit master is Prabhupada. Yeah, evidently, yes.
Right.
So we should
So,
always
but
remember that
Shiksha Guru
position.
does not stop with Prabhupada. We do have other Shiksha Gurus as well.
Many, someone will teach you how to put a dhoti on. He's also Shiksha Guru, correct? Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhu.
Someone may train you how to cook. He's also Shiksha Guru, correct? Yes or no?
But he might be a neophyte also, Prabhu. So then we consider him as equivalent as Diksha Guru.
As long as he teaches you something you don't know, no? Yes? Someone who teaches you something is also giving you shiksha, no? Correct?
Right. He's giving me the Shiksha. Correct.
So like that, that's how humility we learn. Everybody is somewhere or other they're giving some instruction. So
Right.
you take what you can take. And if you're giving instruction which is not correct, then you correct them. Yes?
Right.
That is the tough part, no?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Huh? So we have to be cautious how to deal with every situation. You understand?
Yes, Prabhu.
Just like when Rukmini, and Krishna and Balaram, no, three of them, when Rukmini was killed by Balaram, Krishna kept quiet. No? He could not
Yes,
say
Prabhu.
anything. He would say something, may upset Balaram or may upset Rukmini. Correct?
Yes.
So he kept quiet. Yes or no? So you see how God behaves to teach us everything. So we have to learn, no?
Yes, Prabhu.
That's not the no? The proper etiquette, no? Not necessarily all the time you may learn by instruction. Sometimes you learn by observing also, no? By hearing, no? By seeing, no? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
So we have to be intelligent enough. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
But the best course of action is always become humble,
Yes, Prabhu.
The safest part, Anything goes wrong, I take the first blame. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have done it. It's my fault. You understand? If we take that position, then we will sail through all obstacles. But we want to show our rightfulness and fighting and equal right, all kind of stuff. And we'll be the first to go, You understand?
Yes, Prabhu.
Anything else?
Nothing else, Prabhu.
Everyone is very quiet, huh? Are they there or not there? What happened?
We are here. Prabhu.
We are here, Prabhu.
Ekadashi
Everyone is there?
Prabhu.
Huh?
Ekadashi Prabhu.
So nobody. Oh, Ekadashi means what? You can't even speak or something?
Not like that,
Fainting or something. I just